synthetic braiding hair is toxic, but there's just a little birdie, I don't know who, but there's some girl who puts doll at the end of her name who already told you that. I don't know who that could be, but anywho, let's keep going.
I am back! What it do, baby?
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
To most people, braids, twists, and other styles like that are more than just a hairstyle. They're a personal legacy for some. But scientists like myself have been doing studies on synthetic braiding hair for years, but for whatever reason, recently, these scientist studies have went viral. Let's look at them.
New at 6, a scare for many folks who use synthetic hair products.
Yes, the chemicals that could cause cancer that were found in 10 products used in braids, extensions, and other hairstyles.
WCNC Charlotte Siobhan Riley spoke with researchers who say those findings took almost 90 years of testing.
These products are popular in protective hairstyles, but researchers say it could do more harm than good. I spoke with a hairstylist here in West Charlotte, and she says although she is not surprised by this news, she says it's also very disheartening. LaWanda Carter says she stopped using synthetic braiding hair after experiencing negative results.
The hair would make me itch. It makes my scalp itch.
Consumer Reports conducted a study that detected carcinogens or chemicals that potentially cause cancer in 10 well-known synthetic hair products, mostly used by African American women. Some of those products include Magic Fingers, Shake and Go, Sassy Collection, and Sensational.
The fact that we could not find one product that was clean of everything that we tested for was quite disturbing.
Dr. James Rogers, Director of Product Safety Testing and Research with Consumer Reports, says they chose to test artificial braiding hair after asking African American women about the most common personal care products they had concerns about. Braiding hair was at the top of the list.
But the lead amounts that we saw in 90% of the products was alarming to us.
Charlotte hairstylist Christy Price recommends safer products to her clients who want braids.
They have other healthier options. They do have chemical-free braiding hair.
Magic Fingers and Sensational were two of the companies that responded to that report, saying they did not agree with the methodology used to test the products. Both manufacturers argue their products are safe. Carter, whose daughter still gets braids, encourages her to research everything before purchasing.
Google, read, ask other stylists maybe to get knowledge of it.
In West Charlotte, Siobhan Riley, WCNC Charlotte.
Now, researchers say they also want to test wigs, hair pieces, and clip-ons to see if those could be harmful too.
Yeah, so in the meantime, Dr. Rogers is hoping to get these products regulated more closely at the state.
Scientists are raising alarms to what could be lurking inside of synthetic braiding hair. The things that you think are protective styles are actually the worst thing that you can actually do for your hair with the patterns you've been following. Reports and scientists have tested over 10 different popular hair care brands, and every single one has came out to see, and every single study has shown that they have the same types of toxic chemicals. So I'm going to give you the scientific breakdown, and then I'm going to give you my personal opinion. So let's get into it. Most women, after you get braids and things of that nature, the first thing you do is go run to a bunch of oils and butters, and most of us are doing that to get rid of the intense itching and a lot of inflammation that you have after you have braids. And you always think that it's the braids, but you never ever tackle the actual synthetic braiding hair that we've talked about years ago. But let's keep going. Now, it's often blamed on the braid itch, and all you need to do is get a little bit of of oil and that'll fix it. But the reality is, what's actually been happening is you've been absorbing different things that are put into braiding hair. Now, I know you've seen, and like they just said, there have been carcinogens found in synthetic braiding hair. Now, as we unpack this, I need you to remember that this is not hair that was made to be hair. This is plastic. You guys are putting plastic that resembles hair in your hair and then heating it up with boiling hot water, sometimes at the very root. This is why going to cosmetology school is so important, because if you don't, you do things like this.
That's who my kids on. She was shouting.
So y'all, I came across this video and we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah. Now, one of the most alarming things in this braiding hair is the presence of this constituent here, benzene. I think I said that wrong. This is a well-known cancer-causing agent that is outlawed in multiple countries. And when heat activated, when any heat is applied to it, it creates and releases these vapors. And these vapors, when inhaled into the body or absorbed into the skin, the way that they're absorbed, if you do something crazy like this, which the majority of women do, you end up releasing those toxic chemicals into the body. And then if you also leave these braids in for long periods of time, the absorption of these carcinogens or of these constituents that cause cancer are freaking crazy. But it's your cultural practice, and this is why the video that I showed you about braiders being the ones that stopped cosmetology requirements was so detrimental. Because I'm going to tell you something, if that never stopped and if they kept on going the way that they were going with the scientific background and with the type of scientific education that we used to have in cosmetology schools, this would have never happened.
Arizona woman does so much more than style hair. She made history. Arizona native and accomplished stylist Essence Farmer has been braiding hair since the age of 12. I think a lot of black women just got to a place where they wanted to embrace their natural and authentic selves and their own beauty, because we've always been shown another standard. Her iconic hair design featured in Essence magazine and in the National Museum of African American History in Washington, D.C. Whatever flows out of you, you give to your client. Your client's able to just be able to wear it as almost a piece of art. But it wasn't always easy for her to be that artist. Arizona law made it difficult to open up her own hair braiding salon. So they told me I had to have a license. At the time, Arizona's Board of Cosmetology required 1,600 hours of classroom instruction, even though not a single hour of natural hair braiding instruction was included in the program. I took up issue with it because the things that I did, which was braids, locks, twists, they didn't teach nor did they test on it. And at a cost of at least $10,000. All that time that would have spent going to cosmetology school and the money, to me, just didn't make sense. So at just 23 years old, and with the help of the Institute for Justice, she challenged Arizona's cosmetology licensing laws, arguing they stifled job opportunities and suppressed a vibrant expression of culture. It's just a lack of inclusiveness because of ignorance. If you don't have to really think about other people and include other people, you probably won't even, make concessions. In April of 2004, then Governor Janet Napolitano signed Senate Bill 1159 into law, allowing all natural braiders to practice their art without the hurdles.
Now, when they say without the hurdle that they're talking about is learning this, the actual science of the human body. They're looking at you learning the science of the human body as a hurdle. Like, I don't want to have to do all of this. It don't matter. All I want to do is do hair and make money. I don't care about the science of hair. So when you guys comment on my channel saying, how come they don't know about the science of hair? How come they don't care? Well, you guys told them that it wasn't a requirement.
I realized I made history. Essence now travels the world teaching and speaking on how to be successful in the hair braiding industry. It's crazy to know that I've actually done something that will change the trajectory for many people who are in this industry. Paving the way for braiders like Adelaide Good, who now owns Rare Essence Salon. She says her goal is to help build confidence in her clients, especially clients of color.
It has been seen so often how many times women and men and children have been discriminated based on certain styles they wear naturally. And it's so protective for our hair, but it's demonized.
But in recent years, she says, attitudes towards black hair is evolving.
Parents with children of color who want to have locks in their hair or braids in their hair, I think they are starting to speak up a little bit more to make the change.
And as we celebrate this Juneteenth,
It's just the whole idea of freedom and being able to, one, be able to be you. I think that's the reason why I opened up Rare Essence, was to be able to make men, women, and children feel comfortable being their authentic selves and being free to be that, you know, whether it's in their professional life and their personal life. And for many years, we didn't have a place to go.
A new law will allow certain cosmetic professionals to practice without regulation from the state of Mississippi Cosmetology Board.
Yeah, Governor Tate Reeves signed House Bill 1312 into law April 9th. The bill would allow eyebrow threaders, eyelash technicians, and makeup artists to work without an esthetician's license. The bill is the result of several lawsuits filed by the Mississippi Justice Institute and years of litigation. To a spokesman from MJI, prior to the new law, these specific professions needed hours of training that didn't apply to their skill sets.
So MJI took legal action for Amy, and because of that, as you can see, the business is still open and it's still thriving and they're doing great. And now anybody in Mississippi who wants to apply eyelash extensions for a living can do that.
Now, with this new law, the Cosmetology Board can't impose fines, civil or criminal penalties against unlicensed workers of these specific trades.
African-style braiding is a way of protecting black hair naturally through twists, locks, and braids. No chemicals are used, just natural ingredients. It's a practice usually passed down from generations.
Today, basically, I'm doing a lock maintenance, a lock retwist, cleaning up the lock shaft just to keep the locks healthy and nourishing.
Diamond Grayson is a licensed natural hairstylist in Chicago, where the state requires 300 hours of classroom and practical experience. Across the country, hair braiding requirements are inconsistent. 26 states don't require licensure at all. Some states require specialty license with 50 to 500 hours of training, while more extreme states, like Idaho and Montana, require a cosmetology license and 2,000 hours of training. For comparison, it takes an average of 150 hours of coursework to become an emergency medical technician, a job where you're helping save lives. Not only is licensure time-consuming for some students, but costly as well. This inconsistency raises a question not only within the hair braiding community, but nationally. Should hair braiders be licensed at all? The notion of regulating black hair is not new. It has roots in American history.
Black hair was regulated by slave masters who shaved the hair of enslaved people of African descent as a means of control and punishment.
In October of 1670, a Virginia law directed slave masters to give repeated runaway slaves a hair close cut. And Cobb says, even the hair of free blacks were regulated. In the 18th century, a New Orleans governor administered the Tenon Law that required free black women to bind their hair in handkerchiefs rather than adorn it with feathers or beads.
The regulation and punishment was a way of taking away both distinction and personal autonomy.
If regulating black hair was a way to enslave black people then, is hair braiding licensing, which can take time and money, just another way of oppressing and suppressing black people today?
So what is so disgusting about this argument to me is we have Annie Turnbow, look her up, and Madam C.J. Walker. Annie Turnbow had a whole university with a garden on top of the building. It was like freaking Harvard.
Because sidebar, when I was in cosmetology school 16 years ago, the cosmetology book that I have today is completely different from the cosmetology book that you guys are getting now, which is also completely different than the cosmetology book that I had before, because these black women who are braiders, who got their cultural practice to throw out the law, this is where we are now in 2025. But I digress. Let's keep going. In closing, when it comes to those key constituents, it makes it It makes the chances of you getting cancer increase by a bunch. If you are a black woman who swears by having protective styles and braids 24/7, that's why I make all of these videos about protective styles not being the thing and twisting braids not being protective styles. I made videos about that forever ago and y'all had problems with it, but anywho, I digress. Next up is going to be lead and heavy metals. Now, we all know that exposure to lead and heavy metals, like in the house, in the food you eat, in the environment, is horrible. But if you get braids on a regular basis with synthetic braiding hair, you are knowingly, well, not knowingly, but willingly, or maybe not willingly, girl, you just giving yourself extreme lead and harsh metal exposure. Again, I need y'all to remember, I really truly and don't believe that these companies are trying to take black women out with synthetic hair, but I also don't think that black women realize that your protective styling, even though it looks really cute, you're putting plastic in your hair, plastic that really vastly resembles human hair, but it's not human hair. And if you attached plastic in any way, shape, or form to your body for long periods of time, the same exact thing would happen. 9 out of 10 of these different popular synthetic hair braiding brands were tested, and 9 out of 10 of them were found to have extremely high levels of toxic metals and toxic chemicals that end up causing serious issues like neurological damage, and something that I've been talking about on my channel for years, hormone disruptions. And I've told you before that your hormones are directly affected to the amount of sebum that you produce. They are directly connected to your natural hair growth cycle, how fast your hair grows, falls out, or anything within that realm, but most of all, your hormones. And so many black women, whenever I make a comment or whenever I make a post about black women not needing oil in the scalp because the scalp creates oil, the first thing I'll get is like, everybody's different, everybody's not like you, Sid, everybody's not like you, I don't produce any oil. And then I would turn around and ask what their everyday practices are, and every single time, the women who cannot produce oil within their scalp, the women who cannot produce sebum or who are not producing sebum within their scalp, are the same women whose primary hairstyles are protective styles that have synthetic braiding hair attached to it, which have different hormone disruptors. And your hormones, your sebaceous gland, and the amount of sebum that you make are directly connected to your hormones. So if you already have plastic in your head with extreme levels of heavy metals, then heck yes, you are going to have low to no sebum production. But again, I digress. Let's keep going. So how do these chemicals actually affect you, right? They've proven, it's a proven fact. This is not up for debate, up for discussion. Well, my grandma been using that braiding hair for 37 years. It doesn't matter. The tests it's a proven fact now that synthetic braiding hair holds these different constituents, right? So what does that mean for you? Number one is going to be direct skin contact. These chemicals can be absorbed into the skin, on your scalp, your face, your chest, anywhere, and it will cause different allergic reactions like itching, dandruff, rashes, and many other allergic reactions. Inhalation. Now this is the part that a lot of people don't think about. Right now you're thinking about you as a consumer, but even braiders themselves are really at high risk, especially the ones that dip their clients' hair in hot, extremely hot boiling water. You are literally heating up those different constituents and making it so they are powered up to affect you and your client. You are doing so much harm when you dip braiding hair. It's just a fact. Be really mindful of the fact that whenever you dip that braiding hair, you are exposing and releasing those chemicals, making them way more powerful than they were when they were just sitting on the hair. And this is going to highly increase the amount of scalp irritation, and that body of your client, they are going to absorb those toxins. And you guys have been absorbing those toxins, but let's keep going. Now, there are other options, right? You can really go for synthetic braiding hair that does not have toxic chemicals on it. They are out there, but that type of braiding hair is a little bit more expensive than most of the braiding hair that they've tested that you can get for about 75 cents, $1, $2 a pack, right? So a lot of times you get exactly what you pay for. So that's something that I need you to be really cautious of. But again, there are other options. You can get synthetic braiding hair that does not have any toxic chemicals. They list all of the things that they put. They list all of the different chemicals that are on the package, and I implore you guys to simply read the back of the labels, because on a lot of these packages, right, the things that they tested, the heavy metals that they found, a lot of times there are 1 or 2 of these brands that those toxic chemicals are in the ingredients. But because you didn't take your time and do the research, and because maybe you didn't see the exact wording that you're familiar with, and you see some other super long word you don't know how to pronounce, then that's kind of on you that you didn't take the time to read the labels, right, and the ingredients on what is on the synthetic hair. Because regardless of how much the synthetic hair looks like real hair, it's not real hair, right? It's plastic, and any type of plastic is going to release toxic fumes if you put it in boiling hot water. So these are things that we have to think about. It looks like hair, but it's not hair, it's plastic. Another thing you need to do, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but wearing braids is not something that's supposed to be done every day. It's not. Braids are supposed to be the type of style that you have like in replacement for something. Like, let's say you are about to go out of town or something, and you're gonna be gone for a couple of months, and you just don't have time to do your hair like that, so you just go ahead and get some braids. Or maybe you're going on a cruise or something like that where you want your hair to be up, so you don't have to worry about it. Then in that case, braids are not a problem. Even using synthetic hair, of course you want to stay away from toxic brands, but even if you have one that doesn't have toxic chemicals in it, braids are not something that are supposed to be worn on a daily, monthly, all through the year type basis. It's not. That's why Black women are leading in scalp infections, balding, different thinning, hairline and hair shaft disorders, because the cultural practices have taken over the scientific realm of the way that you should be focusing on the way that the human body was made. So I mean, are there toxic braiding hair brands? Absolutely, they've always been. This is not new information. The thing that's new, right, is that now it's made the news. But before it was on the news, it was here on YouTube with YouTubers like me telling you not to do it, but nobody wanted to listen. But now here we go, you know, in 2025, everybody hair trying to be on the lives. What most people need to do, and not just with these hair brands, but of course that's what we're talking about right now, everybody needs to advocate for more transparency, but most people don't do that. As long as something's viral online, everybody's gonna go out, run and buy it and use it the same way that everybody used it in the video, and nobody's gonna ask questions. But imagine if everybody advocated for clear directions, clear ingredients, and all of the things, then that's what would happen. These brands will start caring a little bit more about the things that they sell to you, but because they know that you don't care, because they know that you don't read the label, they find absolutely no need to do this. But I'm willing to bet money, right? Today, this is January, February, March. Today is March something, right? And the majority of people who are looking at the different things, the majority of these brands, they're moving based on the way that they know that they can make money off of you. And then if they can cut costs, they're going to cut costs. But now these brands are going to stop doing that. They're going to stop cutting costs. You know why? They are starting to see that you are paying attention. And the more you pay attention, the higher the standard would rise. It's all about supply and demand. So if you start demanding that products and brands are more forthcoming, that they use healthier ingredients and things of that nature, then that is what they will supply. But you've been demanding nothing but cheap products. So because all you've been demanding is cheap products, that's what they've been giving you. But the only way you can get really cheap products is if you lower the quality. So you guys have to decide what you want. Do you want cheaper products, or do you want cheaper products with lower quality, or do you want to go ahead and really truly pay for something that's really worth it? So that way you won't run into cancer, because it's a scientific fact. Women have gotten cancer strictly off synthetic braiding hair. So I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. You can do whatever you want. But this is my take on synthetic braiding hair. I said it once and I'll say it again. Your twists, your braids, and all of the things, and y'all twist outs and all of the things that y'all see as protective styles are actually more damaging than if you just wore your hair like regular. So when you're hunt to get away from flat irons and blow dryers, you've ran into the arms of plastic hair. So let's see how you get out of it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's talk about it. And I'm not telling you not to use synthetic braiding hair. Girl, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm just talking about it because she asked me to. Okay? Bye.